in Judaism, the goal is, I don't know if I'm going to tell you this yet. I think I'll wait a second. In Judaism, it's an unbelievable concept to think that in every book, anything you ever will come across studying, whether it's the Torah, the 5 books of the Torah, the Nevi'im, the prophets, Megillah, scribes, anything in the written Torah in Judaism has numerous references, directives, and even instructions that we must be happy. In Psalms, it tells us, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. We need to serve God with joy. We should celebrate at this time. We should be happy at this occasion. We should cheer up the poor, the needy. We're told so many times, in so many ways, by so many people that we need to be happy. An obvious question is, look, listen, God, you're telling me what I should eat and what I shouldn't eat, when I should rest, how I should this, I should help the old lady across the street. I should put a few coins in a bucket. I should tie black straps to my hand. I should light candles. Okay, whatever. But you're telling me I should be in a good mood also? What kind of chutzpah is that? Not only is it a chutzpah, but my bad mood, you know whose fault it is? Yours. You gave me these parents. You gave me this crummy situation. You gave me, I got accepted to this school where there's nobody here for me to talk to, or whatever. The list could be different for everyone. But God's telling me, be in a good mood, serve God with joy. Whatever you're doing, it should be with a happy, smiling face, greet everybody with joy. All these verses and these directives, we should be happy. You're telling me to be happy? The reason why I'm not happy is your fault. You want to give me better circumstances and better situations? I'll be happy. It'll be simple. If you change all of these things, here's a list. Change this, get rid of this person, upgrade the, my monthly stipend, downgrade my, intellectual capacity so I could get 4.0 without killing myself. Let me be a little more social, a little taller, smaller nose, bigger, whatever. Then I'll be happy. It's very simple, God. You could fix it all. Right? It's a simple solution. And what happens? You guys ever wake up in the morning and put your foot into a sock and your toe gets stuck in the threads that are there in the inside of your sock? Anyone? It's only my socks that do that? It's the toe trapping socks. No one has these? A little bit. And I'm thinking, it's 2012. You can't figure out how to make socks that don't get your toes caught on your way down into the sock? I don't have time for this. But what really is going on? On the outside, there's a great pattern. Whatever, it's argyle. Perfect. The diamonds, the X. Inside, there's 4 million threads going in 100 different directions. If you turn that sock inside out, you don't see argyle. You see someone doesn't know how to sew a sock. This is a disaster, right? It's really life. We see most of our lives from the inside of our sock. Threads going in different directions, events that happen, situations, traumas, sorrows, conflict, issues, people, politics. It's a pile of thread. I want a refund. I'm throwing these out. I'm going barefoot. I'm not wearing these anymore. Really, on the outside of the sock, there's a perfect picture. And if every single thread wasn't going in exactly that direction on that exact angle, my life wouldn't be this picture it's supposed to be. Sounds very nice, but it doesn't always work so well, right? Because we get the inside the sock view. God, lucky for him, how convenient, sees everything perfectly. There's a perfect picture. So what happens? How do we achieve some semblance of happiness and comfort? Judaism tells us it's all in our attitude. It's all how we see things. Now, is it possible for a human being to see their life the way God does? I don't know about you, but it ain't working for me. Right? It's very nice that God has a perfect plan and a perfect picture and everything makes sense. But in my life today, I'm struggling with this. And how am I paying the mortgage? And how's this kid going to stop fighting with this kid? And how's this person? All the issues that I have, how am I supposed to see this as a perfect picture? It's not so simple. There were 2 disciples of the Maggid of Mezritch, who was a great Hasidic master. He was a disciple of the founder of the Hasidic movement, the Baal Shem Tov. And they were studying a tractate in the Talmud that drove them berserk. What did it say in the Talmud? Listen to this. If you're thinking to take a nap, and now's not a good time. A person, a human being, should be happy, grateful, and thankful, and appreciative to God when something bad happens to him, just as when something good happens. And they're sitting there and they're like, hold on, let's go over that verse again. And they read it again, and that's what it says. You should be equally happy when something good or bad happens to you. Hello, we're not angels, we're not God, we're people. If something bad happens to me, I'm angry, I'm ticked off. And if something good happens to me, okay, maybe if I'm in the mood, I'll say thank you or I'll be appreciative. But it's certainly not going to happen that something bad happens to me and I say, thank you, dear God, you know, for causing me to flunk my, I mean, it's not going to happen. They were very disturbed, so they went to the Maggid, their teacher, and they said, could you explain this verse to us? It doesn't make sense. And the Maggid said, you know what? My dear students, I can't help you. But I know someone who could. His name is Zusha, and he lives in Anipoli. Go travel to him, and he'll give you the answer. You're shaking your head. You heard about this guy, Zusha? Great guy. Right? So they're like, we're going to go travel to Zusha. Now, this wasn't like we're jumping in the car, we're going down the freeway, and we might have to pay a toll. This was, 2 weeks in Russia, in the cold, in the mud, in the snow. Well, not so simple, but they're committed to getting to the bottom of this. How could God tell people that this should be a reality in their lives? They travel, they get to the town of Anipoli, they're asking everyone, where's Zusha? And everyone's pointing, keep going, all the way to the end of the village. Sure enough, they rock up at the most dilapidated looking hovel. The shutters are hanging on by a thread, the roof's caving in, the windows cracked. This is like, forget the housing department banning this place. It should be burnt down now. And they're like, okay, we arrived. So they knock on the door very gently. They didn't want it to fall off of its hinges. And the door opens, and this guy is smiling and beaming, and he looks at them, and he's like, welcome to what do I owe this great honor and privilege? Disciples of the Maggid coming to see me, humble Zusha, come in, sit down. And they're like, yeah, it's going to be easy, being that there's straw for chairs, whatever. Anyway, they come inside, and Zusha says, so what brought you here? And they said, well, obviously we came to see you, and things look great. But we were actually sent here by the Maggid because we had a question in our studies, and he said that you would have the answer. Me, humble Zusha, has an answer for you? What's the question? So they tell him this thing that they were studying about God saying we should be happy equally for the good and the bad, and we don't understand it. And we were told you would give us some insight. Okay. So Zusha gets up and he starts stroking his beard, maybe, I don't know, walking around the room, and he's pacing and he's chuckling. And after some time he comes back to them and he says, I'm so sorry, but I don't think I could help you. I don't have the answer. And they're like, no. Like, we've been traveling for 2 weeks. You're Zusha from Anipoli. This is the right guy. You're going to need to work a little harder, come up with something, because you're the guy with the answer. So just think of something. Tell us whatever. So Zusha said, I'm going to think. And he's, again, pacing and thinking. Finally, he comes to him and he says, I'm so sorry. Your dilemma, your question was, how can a person be happy when something negative happens, when there's a struggle, when there's a challenge in their life? And the reason why I don't have an answer for you, or it would be a chutzpah for me to think that I have the answer, is because in my whole life, I've never had anything bad happen to me. I've never been presented with a challenge. And so I'm going to tell you how to react when I've never been in those shoes. I've never experienced something negative. So these two disciples are like, Take one last look around here. Okay. And I could only imagine that for those 2 weeks that they had to travel home, they had a lot to talk about, because the truth of the matter is, most of us will never achieve that state of being where Reb Zusha was at, which is the physical world is just physical details. It doesn't affect my happiness, my contentment, my joy. It's not a struggle. It's not a challenge. That's something that's way beyond the reach of most people. But to understand the concept behind it, that my attitude, how I view things, how I view situations changes everything, that's profound. That is something that could blow someone's mind, because it changes your whole life. And the truth is, the Hebrew word for simcha, for happiness, is related to the Hebrew word machshava, which means mind. It's in your mind. You would think that the people who accumulate the most happy circumstances, go to the most parties and the most joyous events and the most vacations, they acquired so many happy, fun moments, therefore they're the happiest people. And that's not the truth. The truth lies much deeper than that. The people who sometimes have to struggle more than others and work, they end up being the people who find deep, real, inner contentment and happiness and joy because of the struggle, because life wasn't so simple. And it's not the things that you see and you touch and you feel and you could show off to others that make you happy. It's the stuff that goes on deep inside. And so in a classroom in Russia, there was a teacher who, as a good commie, was educating the class with some nice communist doctrine to start off the morning. And she says to the kids, all right, everybody, do you see the blackboard? And all the kids are like, duh, sure, we see it. So she says, okay, that's because it exists. She points, does everyone see the window? And the kids look, whatever. Spasiba, sure. Good, it exists. And she points all around the room. You see the floor, the wall, the ceiling. Every time they say yes, she says, that's because it's real, it exists. Finally, she gets to the punchline and she says, does anyone see God? The kids are all looking around. No. So she says, that's because he doesn't exist. Okay, we got the point. Great lesson, right? Until Chaim Yankel in the back corner of the room raises his hand and he says, does anybody see the teacher's brain? And the kids all look around and he says, maybe it's because she doesn't have one. Right? Because you know why? If we view our lives in terms of what we have and what we see and what we could touch and wear and live in and drive and play on, and we're getting a little part of life, but the depth and the meaning and the things that really count and give us true happiness and contentment, the love, the relationships, the satisfaction of putting effort into something, of doing something beyond your capabilities, of going out of yourself, all of that, the stuff that is really what life is about, we don't see that. You can't see that. You can see the physical. You can't see the spiritual. And so the real pursuit of happiness being the problem is in Judaism, the solution is don't pursue happiness. You may not find it. You may be running and chasing it and it may be behind you or around the corner or across the globe. You might not ever get there. But if you pursue your soul, if you pursue your connection that every single person has with their Creator and why you're here and your purpose and the meaning of your life and what you're here to contribute, if you pursue that, it's not a party, it's not fun, it's not loud music and a good glass of whatever it is, or 4 glasses, whatever it takes for you. It doesn't look like a party. But pursuing things that matter and pursuing things that count, pursuing that of your soul, leads to true happiness, leads to the end goal of feeling contentment and peace and joy. And the funny thing is, we said before, a lot of people have the question, how could God tell me to be happy if His circumstances that He caused in my life are what's causing me to be miserable and depressed? And really this whole consumerism, I would say the fine people at Lilly Pharmaceutical who produce Prozac think this is a great system. Tell people if they only buy this and get that and do this, they'll be happy. And it's not true. You have to buy something else. Upgrade the price tag, get something bigger. You can chase your tail your whole life and never stop to look behind you and say, you know what? It's inside of me. What I need to be happy is appreciating what I do have, being grateful for what is mine, appreciating the good things that I have in my life. And I just want to tell you something. This is very important. Judaism tells us this is what we have to do. We have to change our attitude. We have to work hard. It says, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. It comes from the word avodah, which means work. It's not easy. It doesn't come easy. Every day you have to get up and wrestle and fight with yourself to view things in the proper way. But the interesting thing about it is, you're never, ever allowed to use this on anybody else. It doesn't look like everyone got what I said. If someone calls you up, or a friend's crying to you, or someone's telling you, my life is so difficult, I have these challenges, I'm struggling with this, my relationship, my family, my finances, whatever the issue, you're not allowed to say, have a better attitude, look at it positively, just perk up, you're not allowed to tell that to somebody else. You're not allowed to explain a Holocaust, personal or global. That's not our business. We don't know why God causes what we see to be, in our viewpoint, terrible tragedies and injustices, children, adults, families torn apart, death, hunger, starvation. We cannot explain it. We do not know why God causes terrible things to happen in our viewpoint. We see the strings, we don't see the big picture, and don't pretend you do, and don't tell anyone to cheer up when something bad happens to them. Your job when somebody comes to you and complains and says, I'm struggling with this, I'm in pain because of this, is to be kind, sympathetic, empathetic, roll up your sleeves, lend a hand, cook them dinner, take them out, cheer them up, do whatever you can possibly do within your capabilities to help that other person. Don't tell them, have a good attitude, just change the way you look at it, it'll all be fine. What is important to know is this concept of viewing your life in a way of positivity and changing your attitude is only something you can apply to yourself. It works if you apply it only to yourself and never try to do it to anyone else.
If you liked that video, hit the subscribe button and notification bell below for hours of the best Jewish content online.